Hello, everyone. I am Maddox Brown with New England MMA News, and I'm here with Brody, the American Psycho McDougal. How you doing, Brody?
Good. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me on, Maddox.
We're gonna get right into it. We're gonna get into your most recent fight. You def cage fight in 64. You defeated Steven Stango. Can you walk us through the fight and how you finished it?
Yeah, it was a pretty quick one. He came out fairly measured. I thought he was just gonna kind of blitz right off the bat, so I had a pretty measured approach to begin with, and he also started pretty measured. So for kind of like 20 seconds, we just kind of like circled. I was waiting for him to engage because I wanted to counter fight that fight. And then once he did engage, kind of moved up out of the way, stuck like one shot, I think, and then he shot in for a takedown. He put me up against the wall. I eventually ended up reversing the position. And once I reversed the position, he actually had a pretty nice sweep. He just kind of like had a little back heel trip, tripped me. I ended up in guard, kind of worked at guard for a little bit, eventually shot a triangle, and got the submission with an arm bar coming from that triangle.
How did you stay mentally prepared even though there was a last minute opponent change?
It was tough. I wouldn't say it was like hard to say mentally prepared. It was just in general tough mentally. It's a lot, you go through like the whole weight cutting process. And then it's more a lot mentally of like, am I actually going to get to fight type of thing. So that was just kind of what made it tough, if anything. I was excited, obviously, to get in there and to perform, no matter who the opponent was. It's just more like having to try and push those mental, the voice in the back of your head that's just saying, like, is this guy going to actually show up? Is this going to actually happen? Things like that. But as far as like, being like ready to show up and fight, I'm ready to show up and fight anyone.
Was there anything you wish you did would have done differently in that fight?
Yeah, I wish I just made it like a little bit more exciting. Again, I felt like I really took the safe route. I knew I could sub him off my back. So I just kind of stayed in my guard and just waited for my opportunity, and took it. Which again, it was smart. I knew I was gonna win that way. It was easy to win that way. Pro debut, just go in there, you know what I mean, get my win, collect my check. But yeah, I definitely like that's not the kind of style of fight I want to put on. I'm certainly not somebody I want known as like a quote unquote safe fighter. I'm not going in there just to necessarily like get the win, safe as means necessary. I'm in there to put on a show for the crowd. This is a spectator sport. And I like being an exciting fighter. So I was a little disappointed that I wasn't able to make it a more exciting fight before, I got my finish and got out of there. But again, with everything that kind of leaded up to it, I think in that moment in time, I just was excited to collect my paycheck and get a win on my record.
All right, now we're gonna get into your upcoming fight. You're fighting Lorenzo Fitzgerald at Cage Titan 67 on September 14th. Can you give us your thoughts on this fight and how you see it playing out for you?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this fight. He asked for this fight, respectfully, not like, nothing, no bad blood or anything with it, just respectfully between management. Because, he's excited for the challenge. I'm excited to give him that challenge. Uh, so yeah, I'm really excited to get in there. You know what I mean? Get to put some violence on display for the fans again. Um, it's funny how quick people forget, you know what I mean? You're out of the game for a couple of months, and people forget for whatever reason what you can do and the dangers that you bring. So I'm just really excited to remind everybody.
What weaknesses do you see in Fitzgerald's game, and how do you plan to use them to your advantage?
He got knocked out quick in his last one. I think he's gonna be too chinny. Um, I crack, I hit fucking hard, man. I go to war, and yeah, glass chin to me, that's gonna shatter.
What do you think your keys to victory in this fight will be?
I think just, being patient, staying long, and just kind of being willing to take the fight where it goes, and just stay comfortable and confident in, who I am as a fighter.
What do you think this fight does for your career moving forward?
It's just another great step. I don't think it necessarily does anything astronomical for me by any sense, but just a good, smart next fight. Again, he had asked for it too, which makes it a little bit more exciting, just sweetens it a little bit more for me. But yeah, he's just a next step.
Without giving away too much, can you share your game plan for this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a surprise to anyone. Like, I want to crack, I want to get in there, I want to throw down. So yeah, I want to make this dude bleed, maybe bleed a little bit myself, and get that Plymouth Memorial Hall crowd real fucking rowdy.
What do you think will be the toughest challenge Lorenzo will present during this fight?
He's just a strong dude. I'm sure he's gonna be physically a pretty strong person. So I think like if he grabs a hold of me, I'm sure he's gonna feel strong in some positions. Um, but yeah, in general, if I have to be honest, there's not a lot there physically as far as like attribute wise that gives me a ton of concern.
How have your past fights helped you prepare for this fight?
I mean, he's really similar, honestly, to my first amateur title fight that I had in reality, kind of a shorter, stockier dude, high level jujitsu, grapple heavy, but can strike. Lots of similarities to Lorenzo. I passed that test back then with flying colors. We'll see if I can do it again.
Who are going to be some of your key training partners for this training camp?
Yeah, I mean, really all the same guys I usually do. Kyle and Ozzy, I haven't been able to work with quite as much just because they had just fought. Been getting a lot of live work with David Burke, Ross Danner, Kyle Pufall, who's somehow getting 2 fights in before me. Kid's on an absolute streak. Just starts to do the combat zone last weekend. He's going fighting again for NEF next week. So that's sick for him. He's gonna go get 2 fights in. So we've been really active with each other. And just everyone, you know what I mean? Like there's so many people that you can't necessarily put a fight name to, but they're just people that train and work hard. They're coming to Nostos and might not even necessarily want the opportunity to fight or compete, but they're in there every day, training, working hard really too. And some of those guys give me really, really good looks, in particular, like some of our really good, wrestlers, and some of our really good jiu-jitsu guys that they don't fight, but they're just really, really good at what they do. So some guys like that have been really good to get some work into.
What should the fans at the Plymouth Memorial Hall expect from Brody McDougal on September 14th?
Fireworks, man. Cracking, um, big shots, concussive blows, hopefully a little bit of blood, some sweat, maybe some tears. It's gonna be a good time though.
Do you have one final message to Lorenzo Fitzgerald before you guys get locked in the cage together?
Yeah, sorry, bud. Careful what you wish for. Sometimes dreams come true. I think this one's gonna end up being a little bit more of a nightmare for him though. But we'll see. Everyone gets their chance when they get in there and that door is locked, right?
Now we're getting to the last couple questions. It's going to be about the background, how you got into MMA.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to start your career in MMA?
Just always a huge fan of it. When I was younger, my older brother Connor, him and his best friends, like whenever they would come over that and be over the house, they were always watching like the Ultimate Fighter, and a lot of like the original UFCs. We got like I think it was the original UFC video game we had back in the day for the PlayStation 2 or Xbox 360. I can't remember at the time. But either way, we would just play that a lot. Like Forrest Griffin was my man back in season 1 of the Ultimate Fighter days. Just, being a little kid watching that go down, was a huge fan of Forrest Griffin. So yeah, just always a fan of the sport. Obviously was a hockey kid. Didn't ever really plan on fighting. Knew it was something that I was, always really interested in though. And then when I had the opportunity to actually train for the first time and walk in Nostos and, give this a shot, I realized really quickly that this was something that I wanted to do for real. And then as soon as I fought, it was pretty much the only thing I wanted to do after that ever. So just been spending the rest of my time doing that.
How did you find No Sos MMA? Did you look it up? I don't know, like, how'd you find it?
So when I was a little kid, I used to get driven by Nostos MMA actually when I got babysat. It was back before it was even Nostos MMA. It used to be called The Shop. It was back when Bill Jones owned it. So I was like 8 years old probably. My mom would drive me by every day to get babysat by my grandma. And again, I was a huge fan of MMA. We were obsessed when we were kids. And I would always say to her, like, Mom, I want to go to the MMA gym. I want to go to the MMA gym. And she told me, like, I'll let you go, but I'll never let you fight. And I always thought that was stupid, when I was a little kid. It's like, I don't want to just go do it. Like, I want to get in a cage. I don't want to fight if I actually can do it. Um, it's just being like a naive kid. I never went and actually trained until I grew up. And now here I am. It was my senior season of college hockey. And I was just kind of looking to transition into kind of my next thing, stay in shape, keep working out. And yeah, I found my way back to Nostos MMA and fell in love with it.
Who's your biggest role model in the sport of MMA?
It's a tough question. Role model. I don't know. I would say like for as far as like a role model, I would say Forrest Griffin. Like Forrest Griffin's awesome. Like he's done so much for fighters themselves. Obviously, like taking on the position he did at the PI, the Performance Institute, and helping like get the best out of the next generation. Sakam is super cool. I know he's done a lot like charitably, which I also look up to. So that's really cool. So as far as like a fighter that I loved that I also think is a good person. Definitely Forrest Griffin. But as far as like the fighter that like when I shouldn't say a kid because it wasn't when I was a kid. It was in like kind of my teens coming into young adulthood here. The fighter that like made me probably fall in love with MMA the absolute most was probably Conor McGregor.
What has been the most memorable moment of your MMA career so far?
Definitely my war with Ozzy. Definitely most memorable moment. That's I think just like a one in a lifetime type of fight. Um, it's really cool now that we train with each other too, like we get to talk about it, kind of like how it's cool that we both feel like we gave each other kind of like a once in a lifetime experience in there. Um, it's like kind of a weird thing to have with another person that you see often. So it's cool. It kind of adds something to, I think, our friendship and our relationship. But yeah, I mean, like that's up there with one of the, most special nights of my life.
Do you have any special shout outs to sponsors, supporters, and teammates before I let you go?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, shout out to everybody from Nostos MMA, Powerhouse Management, my manager, Carolyn Powell. She takes amazing care of me, make sure that literally everything gets handled and taken care of because I would have a really, really hard time doing this on my own. Thankfully, I don't have to. She takes care of so much for me, takes so much off my plate to make this just so much easier for me. So a huge shout out to Carolyn and everything she does for me, all the rest of the boys, the gym. Um, Absolutely huge. Obviously, Devin, my head coach, Nick Miles, been getting a ton of striking work in with Nick. Um, and then just run through my sponsors. I got McKeague's Top Gun Roofing, Sergeant Smith's Drain and Clean, McInnes Quality Builders, Primal Fit Gym, Middleton Chiropractic in Barrington, Duffy, Riley Fierce Pierce, Elevate Design, French Masonry, Kind Farms, and the Original Wheelman. So I'd like to thank all those guys, obviously, for helping and supporting me. It's huge, Obviously, this is all I do now. I'm being a professional fighter, so all the support that I get from my sponsors really makes it possible for me to do what I do.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely, thank you, Maddox.